The second conversation is finding the raw spots. The first goal here is to go past the surface anger and pinpoint the soft feelings, the sensitive spots playing out underneath the demon dialogue, and that keep the demon dialogue going. The second goal is to help partners share these raw spots so they can each learn about each other's sensitivities and how they trigger these sensitivities in their lover. The third goal is for partners to begin to feel compassion and see the other person as less dangerous. When this happens, safety grows. Remember, raw spots are always about sadness, feeling ashamed, or fear. There are really two key fears. One is, I will be deprived of connection with you, I will be alone, and I will feel deserted. The second fear is that I'll be rejected as being unworthy or too disappointing. Both of these fears really end up with people feeling unimportant and unseen.
At first, it may seem like I react with anger. I feel that, my feelings are valid, that I have a right to express how I'm feeling with you. After all, if I can't express how I'm feeling with you, who am I gonna express my feelings to? So it probably looks like anger on the surface. But in that very moment where I see the look of disappointment in your face, I feel shame. I feel like I'm not good enough. That something is possibly wrong with me, that I'm, as you say, always negative, never satisfied.
And that you're somehow disappointing him, yeah?
Exactly.
And that's very scary?
It is, because, maybe I'm not good enough for you. Maybe there will come a time when you look elsewhere for support and love, and I'm just not the right person for you.
Mm-hmm. And that is very scary. Arwen, that's very scary for you?
Very scary.
So when he looks across and sees anger, right, he might not see, or you complaining, what he doesn't see is that you're scared. Right? You're scared that he's not going to listen, and you talked last time about that somehow that means you don't count. But there's also this dreadful fear that you shouldn't be feeling this way, and he's right, you are complaining too much.
Yeah.
And he's telling you that he doesn't want this softer part of you. That's what I'm hearing, is that right?
That's right. So on one level, I think maybe there is something wrong with me, but then on another level, I feel that my feelings are just as valid as anyone else's. Mm-hmm. And in order to have an open dialogue in a relationship, you shouldn't censor yourself and not talk about the things that matter to you, even if they do come out as negativity.
Right. So right now what you're doing is you're doing that, you're reaching down and you're saying, I'm going to tell you these softer feelings that I don't usually tell you, right? Which is a risk, right? It takes courage to do that. I'm going to tell you these softer feelings. I'm going to tell you that I end up feeling like you don't want to hear these feelings that count so much to me, and I end up feeling afraid, yeah?
That's right.
Can you just tell him directly that?
I feel afraid that when we talk and you don't want to hear what I have to say, that you're rejecting me and that I'm not good enough for you.
And I'm going to lose you. That's the other catastrophe.
And I'm going to lose you.
Right.
To someone who's more shiny or more positive, more together, more independent.
Right. Not as needy.
Not as needy.
Blair, what's it like to... Arwen's really taking a risk here. She's really opening up, telling you about her softer feelings. What's it like for you to hear this? Can you help her? Can you tell her what it's like to hear her say this to you?
It's like a great revealing of, these deep inner emotions that I, had no idea that was the way you were really feeling about this sort of thing. That wasn't the way I had interpreted any of this. And, when you're making these comments about, how, difficult this is or that is, and I just tended to focus on, okay, there's a problem here. I identify, okay, she's telling me there's a problem. So I automatically go into Mr. Fix-It mode, and I look for solutions, which you then quickly dismiss and make you angry, and then I in turn get angry because you've just dismissed an option that I've put forward.
You've tried.
Yes, that's right. And so I think after, I never thought that it was more of a case of you just needing me to be there to listen and to support you emotionally. I thought you were trying to tell me, help me fix this, give me some options here.
Right.
And that.
So you missed each other, right? You'd missed each other, right?
Yeah.
But now when Arwen tells you this, how does that feel for you? What does that bring up for you on a feeling level when Arwen sits and takes this kind of risk with you and tells you about these feelings?
It makes me feel really good. It makes me feel like she trusts me, and to reach deep down inside and say something like that, and to say, listen, here's what's really going on, and you have to understand that I have these deep fears, and really I think she didn't say it, but I think she's trying to say I love you dearly, and because I don't want to lose you by extension. And for me, that's very gratifying, because
that's reassuring for you.
I was feeling that our relationship was at risk as well, and that in fact she was the one who seemed disinterested and
angry.
Didn't want to be around me, was angry at me. I could not do enough. I couldn't do anything right.
Right.
These sorts of
right.
Things that I was perceiving.
Right.
And so I thought she was, moving farther away. But when she says something like that, I feel a close connection.
Right. Was it hard for you? Was it hard for you to tell Blair this?
I think it is hard, because it's almost like once you put it out there that you're afraid of abandonment, that somehow that will make it come true. I don't know. I think that if you can just suppress the real feelings and deny that they exist, that you can sort of stop it from happening.
Yes, I hear you. I think it does take courage, especially when we're somehow not used to going to that level, right? Which is really, the conversations are supposed to give you a structure and help you understand what's going on, right? So that it's a little safer to move to that level. But I think it's great. It seems to me you guys are doing brilliantly, right?
Well, I definitely think without the framework, we wouldn't have been able to get to this point at all. I mean, it's put things in context, and it's allowed us to filter out all the other noise that's going around that clouds the situation, and then you can't get to the heart of the issue, because there's all this other stuff that is at the surface level. That is what you see, and it's what you react to, and it's a process of building trust and pushing all of that noise to the side to say, okay, don't focus on the noise anymore. Focus on what's really the most essential aspects to this problem.
Right.
And
so when we were doing the exercises before, you were talking about your deep feelings.
Yes, maybe we can switch here, and Blair, do you feel like you could talk a little bit and share about what happens for you underneath at this softer, deeper level when the vortex takes over, and
Sure.
maybe things that you're not used to sharing with Arwen? Can we try and have you do some of that as well?
Sure. Well, yeah, I think it has to be reciprocal.
Yes, sure.
So I will try. As I said, I'm not very good at expressing my emotions, but I think this process has given me some good practice at that. And I think, I guess I felt that whenever you would come to me with these expressions of difficulties or troubles, because they seemed to be fairly constant to me, I felt bombarded by a sort of negativity. And I guess after a certain point, that was just exasperating. It was too much to deal with. And after...
It was sort of overwhelming for you.
Yeah, a feeling of overwhelmingness, just, oh, God, what can I do? I can't make you happy. I can't find a solution to any of this after all of the solutions I've put forward have been dismissed. And so after having experienced that so many times, just a sense of defeatism sort of sets in, and I just felt, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to make you happy. I'm not going to be able to please you or give you what you want. I felt like we had spoken about this metaphor of shifting goalposts that were just constantly being moved forward. Whenever I thought I had reached the goalpost and the goal line and ready for a touchdown dance, you would move it another 10 yards down the field. And
so you could never quite make it.
And
it was always somehow a failure experience.
Yeah, and it was really frustrating. And it's like we weren't able to celebrate any successes because it was a constant focus on things that were troubling or that were difficult. And
so if I asked you to come up with a word for what that felt like, just that feeling of, where would you go with that, Blair? If I asked you to come up with a word that really summarized where you would go with that in those moments, you'd go into...
I'd say it's sort of helplessness, because it's a certain exasperation and frustration, but then ultimately, it gets to a point where it's just like, well, you feel like you can't do anything, you can't move in any direction, and you've been blocked,
And then it's so natural then to just shut down and move away, right? It's so natural, it's the obvious thing to do. It sort of does you.
Yeah.
And the tricky part is that then you say, there you are, you see, you are dismissing me, you don't care about my feelings, I don't feel safe with you. And you can really see how when you can't talk openly about these feelings and sort of repair this rift and create this safety again, right, it invites that negative pattern in. It just puts the music on for it.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to talk about this right now with Arwen?
It was very tough,
Was it?
Because I don't know. I mean, I think it was one of the very few times that I've let someone into, the inner sanctum of my emotions and revealed them to someone. And even having been married for 6 years, it's not something that we've done very often, to express these deep fears, these fundamental feelings. It's easy to get to a certain surface or superficial level,
yes,
but not to drill down any further. And so it was tough. I don't think we could have done it without the framework that the book provides. And but afterwards, after having had that admittedly a very difficult conversation, it was a positive thing, and I think we understand each other so much better as a result. And I feel like kind of foolish that it's like this big light bulb just went off over my head. It's like, oh, you don't want me to solve the problems. You just want me to be there for you.
She wants you.
Yeah. Oh, okay, well, how silly of me to just interpret. And that actually makes it easier in a sense that, oh, okay, well, I don't have to find solutions to all of these things. I just need to give you emotional support. And, I just have to make sure, because it's sort of my knee-jerk reaction is to, okay, let's find a solution for this. Just the solution will materialize at some point, but, it's your feelings that need to be addressed first. And I didn't understand the impact of me dismissing those on you and how profound that was, and how it was really creating problems for us.
And I think you just said something really important, because I think part of the whole thing about understanding what love is about is, if we don't really have an understanding of love, we really don't understand the impact that we're having on our partner. And that is a huge setup. That's a huge setup.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like for you to hear Blair talk like this, Arwen? What's it like for you to listen to this conversation, to him sharing and be part of this conversation?
It's amazing how disconnected we really were. To hear you say, that you feel a deep level of sadness and disappointment in yourself, that you can't live up to my expectations, is pretty mind-blowing to me, because, I think you're amazing. I am impressed with you on a daily basis, just at your incredible integrity as a person, as a dad, as a husband. So to find out that you were feeling like a failure affected me to a level that I've never felt before, because that wasn't the message that I was ever intending to send. And it just creates a sense of sadness in me that you feel so sad.
You don't want him to hurt and feel sad. Can you tell him?
I don't want you to hurt.
Right. Right.
I don't want you to feel like I'm not there for you, and that you can't tell me how you really feel about things, and that I'm just going to be this shell of a person who is disinterested.